what's up, people? It's your boy the Kryptonian saying here, bringing you a review for One Piece chapter 456. And I'm not too sure how to feel about this chapter, and there's a couple reasons for it. The first thing is I really enjoyed getting more information about how the bodies, after the shadows are taken, how the bodies float back to, towards the sea, and if Luffy and Zoro and Sanji are able to be awoken by Robin and Franky, they can potentially fight back and get their shadows. And it would make sense that Brook would know this, given the fact that Brook had tried to fight 5 years ago, figured out the secret is that salt makes the shadows, or the souls leave and have the shadows removed. It makes a lot of sense because of the whole thing with the devil fruit. The salt is the embodiment of the sea. So I totally loved all of that. And yet, when Brook said something to me, when Brook said something in this chapter, it spoke to me, okay? What it said was, Brook was saying to Robin and to Franky, all of my crewmates died. Well, oh, fuck, that's pretty tragic. And yet, one of the things that hit me is Brook is like, well, I have to get back to a certain place. Let me get the exact quote. I'm pretty sure he said either to a certain place or he has to get back to fulfill a promise to a friend. But like the alarms went off in my head. See, he says, I fled because I feared for my life. I just did not want to die. I am the last survivor from my ship. ... So I must escape these demonic waters and fulfill the pact I made with a friend. That is why I ran to save my life. Now, here's what's interesting, okay? When you look at how Oda writes, even when you have new characters, there's usually something that ties back into Luffy and the others, okay? Like with Nami, she has the past with Arlong. But Belle has the Navy. She was Marine. Luffy's grandfather is Garp. Garp is a vice admiral. Zoro, pirate hunter. Zoro's a swordsman. Zoro had Kuina. Now there's, what's the chick with the glasses? Tashigi. She's a swordsman with the Navy. So you can keep going with each of these characters. There's some type of interconnecting in some type of way. And so when you look at this, chances are this dude Brook should have gone on the same path as Luffy, because somewhere along the way his crew, because I remember this, you guys told me that when you're on the Grand Line, because I got confused, I believe, during the Reverse Mountain when they were going there and they're getting explained, like, you can pick this path or this path or this path, but once you get on there, that's the path you have to take. And it's really big because at this point, you are going on the same path that Gold Roger did, okay? And so Luffy's on the path, the literal path that the Pirate King's on. So with Luffy, this whole thing connects back to his dream for the Pirate King. So what's interesting is that at some point, Brook and his crew had to have gotten slaughtered at some point in order for him to end up here, because he's on the exact same path. So I'm wondering, maybe was he on Fishman Island, but he wouldn't have floated backwards. He would have had to go forward. So I'm wondering if maybe it's Alabasta, right when the fighting first broke out, maybe the crew died and he just happened to go there 5 years ago. That should match up with Alabasta, and yet that's a long time to float. And the next few stops are Skypiea. Maybe that fits up with what we saw, where the ships, they get caught up and all of a sudden the current takes them in the air and then they fall. Maybe it happened there. Maybe it happened on Jaya. But somewhere along the way, they had to have died and floated. And so my question, I'm going to ask it early, at what point could they have died? Or am I reading too much onto this? But it just seems like Oda, this is I might overthink this, but you guys tell me over and over, don't overthink when it comes to Oda, because if it looks like it, if it feels like it, Oda has done it, you just missed it. And so I'm wondering which island did his crew lose it on? Because they had to, if you go all the way back to Reverse Mountain, they had to have started there. And they had to have gone on the same path. Oh man. It's either at Reverse Mountain or, no, because that's how you get onto the Grand Line. So it had to be there. So I'm really curious what happened to Brook's crew, because a lesser writer would just have Brook and his crew all get butchered here. And you say, sure, great, whatever, you roll with it. It's the most plot convenient thing. This guy loses his crew. His crew fails against one of the 7 warlords. Last I checked, they're a pretty fucking big deal, so you say, sure. But the fact that he had been floating for a while, and the revived vibe fruit gets him back into his body, loses his shadow. I mean, forgot the exact order, but the whole thing is the revived vibe fruit gets his body back. And he was already a skeleton at this point, so his crew had died even before that. So maybe before the fighting with Alabasta. So this could have happened a while back, but it's very telling that Oda says, after we know Brook has been floating, that it happened 5 years ago. He has a promise to fulfill to a friend, and Brook lost his crew, comes to this island, and it's been stuck here. It's interesting, because again, the easy way would be to say that his crew, they all got butchered here, they lost, whatever. But he gets there after, years after he dies, and his soul drifts back to his body. By then it's decomposed, he's a skeleton. And to say that means that there's something, Oda dropped the hint for this earlier. And I would have thought maybe Klimatamarian, because I don't know, I would have thought that, but that's just the ship spirit. So it can't be that. So it can't be Skypiea. But to have it like this means that we've gotten some hint about Brook and his crew somewhere in One Piece before this. Because Oda could not have chosen that. Don't get me wrong, maybe he could. You know, Kira Toriyama and Hiro Mashima do this shit all the time. They use retroactive continuity or retcon, where they just insert it in there and they say, I had no plans for this before, but it's here now. This is how it's explained. Forget everything else you know. Oda doesn't write like that. So I'm really curious. If I'm harping on it for so long, it's literally because when I do these reviews, they're almost reactions. I read the chapter and then I cut the camera on and I just talk to you guys. It's like I'm talking about this great thing I just experienced. I'm talking to a friend. I'm like, man, you can't believe this shit, man. This just happened. This just happened. This just happened. So that's why it's kind of hidden me, man. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the actual chapter itself. I thought that it was pretty damn cool that you have these moments where it looks like Nami and Usopp and Chopper, they're about to get found out. Because they're having their thoughts, but their thoughts are so loud, it's almost like they're mumbling in Perona. It's just like, will you shut up? Will you stop mumbling? And you have all those different moments where that's taking place. And you find out that there's this huge ogre beast thing that they're going to stick Luffy inside of. And we hear Dr. Hogback say that he's finally completed working on it. And once it's finished, Moria will finally be able to be the king of the pirates. To have so many zombies, and I believe it was Kaido, he wouldn't have lost to him in the New World, and he can go back and challenge and be the king of the pirates. And it's almost like Oda is using this as a bridge to get us to where Shanks and Whitebeard are, because they're in the New World. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting to know that, you know, Oda's starting to connect the dots here. And the fact that somebody like this, one of the warlords, cannot stand up to any of the people in the New World. I feel like I've seen the name Kaido somewhere before. I don't remember where. I feel like I've seen that before. So I'm guessing that's like another pirate that's really, really powerful. If I've seen the name and it's been mentioned before, totally forgive me. This is such a huge ass story. So many moving parts. Totally forgive me on that. Like I said, I'm going through this for the first time. So, I mean, I'm going to flub up some names here and there. But it's interesting that Luffy is getting ready to fight a warlord who couldn't make it in the New World. And because you know what's going to happen. They're going to fight. Luffy's going to fight Gecko Morai. But it's almost like Oda is doing the same thing here. Where you have Luffy fighting Don Krieg, who couldn't make it on the Grand Line. And it's like Oda is setting up parallels. And just before each huge transition, there's a parallel. And this is interesting to me, man, because it's coming right after, or in this case, it's coming right after. But in the last time, you saw it where it was Arlong Park happened after Luffy fought the guy who couldn't make it on the Grand Line. Now we have it where Luffy just rescued Robin, like he rescued Nami from her darkness, and now he's fighting someone who couldn't make it in the New World. So Oda just flipped it, but it's the same thing. So it's really interesting that this is happening. So overall, this was a really, really good chapter. You know where my mind's at, man. I got more focused on what the fuck Brook said about the fact that Brook has an unfulfilled promise to a friend. Like, my Oda senses are going off. I'm not too sure where Oda was taking that, but I feel like there was something on this before. I just don't know where. I can't nail it down. It's because the story's so fucking big. And he throws so many red herrings. And if you don't know what a red herring is, it's a misdirection. He makes you think one thing's going to happen, and then he hits you with another. And then he has this overarching plot. Like, it's so much. And this has been an incredible 2-year journey, and I'm fucking kicking myself for this shit. But, you know, overall, very, very good chapter. I cannot wait to see where this is going. I cannot wait to see if Nami and them get caught, they get found out. That's going to be very interesting. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video, guys. Have an awesome day.